What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we have some news from Bungie. They talk about the Iron Banner, which is returning next week, and how some of the rewards are going to work for that. They talk about Masterwork Armor, as well as new mods coming inside of the Leviathan raid. They also talk about some of the other raid loot, and a patch note preview, and a conversation about shaders, so this is going to be a bit of a long one. First of all, Iron Banner will return on Tuesday, January 30th, and will end on February the 6th. The game mode will be Control, so they will be adding new items to the engrams that we'll find waiting when we visit Lord Saladin. There will definitely be Season 2 weapons in the Iron Banner engram, and we're adding more in the next event. Here's a look at the rewards you can expect to earn next week. So we have the Iron Banner hand cannon, which is a Hake model hand cannon right there. We have the Viced Iron Banner scout rifle, as well as the Iron Banner shotgun right there. And they also show us images of the Sparrow, the Ghost, and the emblem. They also confirm that there will be 3 featured weapons, as well as the armor and everything that you can actually purchase from Lord Saladin during the event. So this is what he will offer next week, and we can see those 3 featured weapons once again. They say that there are no limits to how many engrams you can acquire or how many tokens you can earn. Get as much playtime as you can during the week. It will always move a little closer to opening another engram, earning another ornament, or purchasing a piece of gear from Lord Saladin. Go nuts. So presumably we'll also have to hit certain ranks to be able to buy certain pieces of gear that he has featured, which is pretty cool. That's fine. They also say stuff that was previously available, the armor and many of the weapons, will still be available via the Iron Banner engrams. So it's going to be interesting to see what those weapons are like, see what the event is like on the whole. They've clarified a lot more about this one than they did with the faction rally, and it's sounding like, you know, it could be okay. But up next they talk about Masterwork Armor, and they give us a breakdown of exactly what Masterwork Armor benefits are. So each armor piece will grant a 3% damage resistance while you're using a super, and this will stack for a 15% damage reduction if you have a full set of Masterwork Armor. Masterwork Armor can be reworked to a different stat package, heavy, light, or restorative, and this will cost 1 Masterwork core and 10 legendary shards. So they've actually switched that up from how the weapons work. You have to use, I believe it's 3 Masterwork cores to re-roll the stats on a piece of gear. 1 is much more fair system, and then a few legendary shards, because the thing is with this as well is, you know, if you upgrade a piece of armor to a masterwork, you might actually lose a stat that you start out with, which is the one that you want, and then, you know, have to keep re-rolling it to get that stat back potentially on certain pieces of gear, and of course on other pieces of gear you'll want to change the stat to begin with. They do say that there is a UI bug right now where if you try to quickly rework armor sets, it will appear to rework to the same stats. It doesn't actually perform the rework function or use materials, but it can be quite scary, so we wanted to give you a heads up. Up next though, they talk about the raid armor inside of both of the raids now coming with raid perks. So raid armor now drops with perks that function on the Leviathan. These appear as mods that are selectable on both new drops and existing raid armor pieces that you may already have in your inventory. Additionally, these mods are reusable. If you swap to another one, these will always be in the list to swap back on your raid armor for the low price of 1 Callus token. Since no one wants to take a -5 power penalty if they remove their legendary mods while in the raid, all of the raid mods are legendary by default. This should also be extra icing on the cake for players who can't seem to get that last mod they need to max their gear out. The goal for these perks was to elevate the power of the Guardian in the raid, and we aimed to build things that were useful in every encounter. As a result, we avoided things that relied on specific mechanics to be useful and moved broadly to useful perks like recharge your grenade when you activate your super and deal 20% extra damage after getting a melee hit, as opposed to things being tied to specific mechanics. And we can see the one that they're looking at right there is called Emperor's Blaze. While on the Leviathan, your solar abilities deal 25% more damage. So that actually sounds pretty promising. Of course, it's very specific right there, but you could have a full set of armor with, you know, each piece having a different bonus on it. And 25%, you know, it sounds like a good amount. Of course, we're going to have to see what all of these are and play with all of them. But if this is anywhere near to being an indication of what we may see with mods 2.0, then I think this is definitely a very good step forward. As someone who plays the raid a lot and has those raid sets, I'm personally very excited to, you know, get in and try these things out. I just hope that they can make the rest of the mod system much more enticing. This is looking really good. We'll see what they have with mods 2.0 in February. But in addition to this update, clearing the Prestige raid will now give you Prestige and normal drops, so if you have the prowess to clear Prestige, then you've proven yourself enough that we don't need to force you back into normal as well. So that's a good update, you know, for people actually playing Prestige. It could be to incentivize the Prestige raid a little bit more. They will be dropping both of your kind of sets of loot for the week inside of that one raid. On top of this, they say they didn't want to have players feeling a dead encounter feeling where they'd already received all of the rewards for that encounter and were just waiting on a later encounter. We've unified the drop tables for raid encounters so that gear isn't tied to a specific encounter anymore, but essentially you will be guaranteed a drop when you clear an encounter, so that's good. On top of this, the raid vendor, so what's his name, the little robot in the tower, he will be selling a rotation of selected raid gear every single week, so if there's something that you're chasing down, you may be able to pick it up from him. And there is a new exotic ghost shell for the raid called the Contender's Shell, so we can see it on the screen right here. Pretty interesting looking shell. They said that they felt like they needed to add a chase item to the raid pool to make coming back still have reward potential each week. So they say this ghost can drop from the final encounter on Leviathan or Eater of Worlds, and we also included some bad luck protection to avoid the previously mentioned Nano Phoenix problem, so that dedicated raiders can rest assured they'll get their hands on it eventually, even if it takes several weeks. So they're planning to make this a relatively hard thing to actually obtain. It does have a couple of perks. So firstly, Seeker of Brilliance enables the chance for encounters to drop bright engrams from their loot pools. Every time one doesn't drop, will increase the chance for the next encounter to drop one. And on top of this, there is Seeker of Opulence, which means those exotics that are dropping have a 50% chance to pull from a list of exotics you haven't collected yet of the standard list. We threw in Seeker of Glory, which provides a tracker for the number of encounters you have defeated on the Leviathan in general. So it will track encounter completions. It will give you a chance to actually get a bright engram drop when you clear an encounter. On top of this, exotics that you pull out of those engrams have a 50% chance to pull from a list of exotics you haven't already collected yet. So I think all of these additions to the raid are really very positive, especially for people playing the raid quite a lot. You know, if you're not playing the raid too much, then perhaps it sounds a little bit more lackluster, but if this is a hint towards the improved rewards, improved mods, things that we're going to see in the future, then it is definitely a good step forward. Of course, it doesn't mean that, you know, that means everything is going to be perfect in the game, but they are positive additions to the game. They give us a patch note preview though for what's coming next week. So they've fixed the Prometheus lens basically. On top of this, they fixed an issue where new characters created after the release of Curse of Osiris were not receiving the Flashpoint milestone, Players in social spaces like the Tower receive a notification when their lost and found at the Postmaster is full. Heroic Strike completions now have a greater chance of granting exotic rewards. Mercury challenges are now available during adventures. They fixed an issue where Curse of Osiris strikes were not properly granting clan engrams when featured as a Nightfall activity, and an issue where challenges were not appearing within quick play, as well as increasing the dismantle timer for Masterwork cores. So all of that, and presumably some other stuff potentially at least, will be coming on Tuesday. But now they talk about shaders. So they say since the launch of Destiny 2, we've gathered a lot of feedback on the new shader system. As time went on and the shaders began to pile up, players lamented that cumbersome process of trying to delete each shader one by one. And they say they want to be transparent about the problem and how we are going to go about solving it. So here is senior design lead Tyson Green. So he says shaders are individual items, and individual items trigger individual reward bundles when dismantled, even when those rewards are simple. That creates a challenge for us that we haven't quite addressed yet, which is triggering dozens or hundreds of reward bundles simultaneously being dropped when an entire stack of shaders is dismantled. This is challenging not simply because of an arbitrary number of rewards that need to run and be delivered simultaneously, but because we also have a safeguard against scenarios where the produced items that couldn't fit into your inventory would instantly be lost. It would be relatively easy to find another button on the controller and let players actually delete a full stack, but that isn't the spirit of what players are asking for, so we're looking at a stronger solve. In addition, we're also looking at how to address other shader feedback. It should be easier to get rid of a stack of shaders, and we're looking at mass exchange solutions. We know that you miss D1 armor shader mechanics, and we're looking at ways to reintegrate that capacity without losing the ability to shade weapons, ghost ship sparrows, or customize specific pieces of gear. And we understand that that you want shaders to be more frequently usable and not limited by availability, we're looking at reintroducing shader collections or a way to get copies of a shader in your possession. This work is ongoing and we'll record when the solution will land, and we'll let you know when we get closer to a fix. For now, it was important to us that you know it's on our workbench. So that is pretty interesting. It's certainly something I thought about as well, you know, mass deleting shaders because they all produce materials and currencies. Obviously, there are quite a few fundamental flaws to this shader system. It's something they're going to continue to work on. You have to let me know your thoughts. But on Tuesday, the servers will go off at 8 AM Pacific and will come back on at 12 PM Pacific, which is when this patch and all of these changes are supposed to drop. So that will be from 4 to 8 PM here in the UK. So a whole bunch of stuff there that's pretty interesting. Like I said, I feel that there are a lot of positive changes. It doesn't turn the game around completely and fix all of Destiny's problems, but for people playing right now, it's certainly good stuff, and you know, it opens up more possibilities in the future. So you have to let me know what you guys think about that. For now though, that is going to summarize the news for today, guys. Let me know your thoughts on any of the stuff we spoke about in the comment section below. There will definitely be some opinions about this stuff, so I'm always curious to see what you guys are saying. If you have found the video insightful though, or useful, a like is very much appreciated. If you're new around here, be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more Destiny 2 content. For now though, I hope you guys have an awesome day.